Genesis 28, an exegetical and biblical-theological commentary. Jacob's dream at Bethel, Genesis 28, historical and literary context. Isaac directs Jacob not to marry a Canaanite woman, but instead to travel to Paddan Aram and marry. From among Laban's daughters, as recorded in Genesis chapter 28, verses 1 through 5. This instruction follows Jacob's theft of the blessing, which provoked such anger in Esau that he threatened to kill him, prompting Rebekah to urge Jacob to flee to Laban's house. The narrative creates significant irony. Jacob has abandoned the Abrahamic promise and the land it conveyed, while Esau, who married an Ishmaelite woman to please his parents, remains in Canaan with a patriarchal blessing nearly as complete as Jacob's. This tension heightens the stakes of Jacob's departure. The dream narrative, exegetical issues. The central image requires careful analysis. Jacob dreams of a ladder reaching to heaven with angels, ascending and descending, while the Lord stands above it, according to Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 22. However, textual interpretation varies significantly regarding God's position, whether standing above the ladder or beside it. The angel's behavior suggests not a ceremonial procession, but rather divine messengers using the stairway to travel between heaven and earth, going up to report and coming down to carry out assignments, making the ladder a passageway between realms. The stairway functions as a symbol of God's accessibility and help, not a means for human ascent, but rather like a fireman's pole where divine helpers descend to render aid where needed on earth. Theological themes. The Lord identifies himself as the God of Abraham and Isaac, promising Jacob the land, offspring as numerous as dust, and blessing to all families of the earth, in Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 22. This moment is epical because it marks the first time the divine promise comes directly to Jacob from God himself, and the first time Jacob demonstrates genuine religious interest in his family's tradition. The God of Bethel reveals himself as a God of pursuing grace who takes initiative in salvation, coming to Jacob before Jacob came to him. Symbolism and sacred space. Jacob recognizes the place as the house of God and the gate of heaven, naming it Bethel. Bethel means house of God, a term describing a temple. Though no physical structure existed, Jacob identified it as sacred space because of the stairway and God's presence, understanding that a temple fundamentally represents the sacred space of divine presence. Later, God calls Jacob back to Bethel to build an altar, and Jacob returns to the place where God had revealed himself when he fled from Esau, as we see in Genesis chapter 35, verses 1 through 15. Rabbit Room Apologetics, TTS, Narration Script, Genesis 28. Prepared for text-to-speech narration, citations removed, biblical references spelled out. Page 2, Jacob's vow and response. Jacob makes a conditional vow. If God provides protection, sustenance, and safe return, then the Lord shall be his God, and he will give a full tenth of all God provides, according to Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 22. Jacob reciprocates the divine promise through this conditional vow, declaring, "The Lord shall be my God." This establishes a pattern of covenant-making where human commitment responds to divine initiative. Biblical connections. Biblical passages relating to this passage include the account in the Gospel of John where Jesus tells Nathaniel he will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man, found in John chapter 1, verse 51. This directly references Jacob's latter vision, God's promise to Jacob, "I am with you and will keep you wherever you go and will bring you back to this land." Echoes throughout Scripture in assurances to Joshua, Moses, and the church regarding divine presence and protection.